Hello, it's Damien from Spark Angels, doing another video on a repair. So today we're going to be filming an iPhone X, replacing the screen on that. Obviously you can see it's quite bad, it's got loads of cracks on it, and the LCD is actually damaged itself. Rest of it seems fine, but that's just broken. The screen seems to be working underneath it, but it's completely dead. Right, so as per normal, I'll just go through the repair itself. I'll try and comment on all the comments that everyone posts up. Obviously if you don't catch it live, you can obviously post comments on afterwards and we'll reply to those comments. Right, so iPhone X is actually quite a quick repair compared to the 7 I done yesterday and pretty much most other repairs. It's fairly quick, so yeah, let's get into it. Right, so obviously first off you'll start with exact same tools as before, so we'll go over the repair. So you start with the 2 bottom screws, as per most devices. Obviously, like I said, you'd normally turn off the phone first. With this one, we can't do it as the screen isn't working. Like I said, the touch isn't working and is working underneath it, but I can't get it to turn off, so probably half of the touch isn't working. The screws on the X's are a lot longer than all the other screws, which is quite interesting. And you actually need to put a little bit more force to get the screws out. So with most of the screws, they actually screw into the screen itself. When they brought out the 8 and the X, they've actually got the screws to screw into the actual frame, and just a little lug sits into the screw, to the screen. But they are a lot longer. So, right. So now that that's out, you get your assist mode like normal. You want to go into the bottom. Obviously, with these, you don't have the home button to worry about, so you don't need to worry about damaging that. Obviously, with the X's, you have got the front camera on them for the Face ID. If you damage that, it's the same thing as the home button. The Face ID will never work again. It's not something you can replace with a new one either. So you need to be very careful with our front camera. Try not to damage that. Alright, so we go same as again. In the bottom, with the iPhone X's as well, their frame is a lot thicker. So you'd want to go in, and you kind of need to go in a little bit further than you normally would. Get in there, break up all the adhesive around. And the X's do open up the same as the 7s, so they are like a book. When it comes to the sides, obviously try not to go in too far. You do have the cables on the sides. But all you're trying to do here is just break the adhesive that's holding the screen in place. And the same with the top. Right, so when you go in the top, be very careful, because obviously that's where the Face ID is. So be a little bit careful up there. Try not to do any damage. And again, opens like a book, like so. Right, and that is the X. X is a lot different to all other phones inside. Obviously they got what looks like two batteries, but they're both hooked up together. Right, so the only thing you need to worry about this on this X's is this bracket here. It's got 5 screws. You want to undo all those 5 screws. That bracket comes off and you've pretty much got every single connector under there. So we'll go with that. We'll open up that bracket. Obviously, like I said before, put all your screws in the exact way they came out. That way you'll put them back in the same place and you won't cause any damage to the phone. Right, so once those screws are out, that little plate just pops up. And then as you can see, you've got literally all those connectors there. A lot of connectors. Obviously, that might be a little bit overwhelming because you need to unplug the battery like normal. Always the first thing you do. So like I said, you'll see the little battery tab there, connected to the battery. That's the one you're going to be taking out. So you pop out the battery, move it out the way. Don't move it too far because you could end up damaging the battery connector. Then you want to take off the screen, which you've got 2 cables that are running down here. And you get both of those out. You can use a little plastic tool, a plastic spudger, to lift up the connectors because they are very close together. Obviously, with lifting up all connectors, be very careful and very gentle, as you can end up damaging or completely pulling off the connector when doing it. So just be very gentle, don't push, don't put too much force, just be nice and gentle with them. Alright, so now we need to take off the front camera. Front camera goes down to the second one on the bottom row. So I'm going to unconnect that. Right, and with this, it is adhesive down at the bottom here. Just get a plastic tool, something underneath it to lift it up. Like I said, don't want to put too much force on anything. Try not to just rip at the cable, because you can actually damage the cables, which you don't want to do. Alright, so that's that out. There we go. So that's that out. Right. So this is the earpiece. We want to take that off, and so we can transfer it over to your new screen. And that's literally, unlike the 7, which you had to replace the back plate, the home button, the top earpiece, on the X's, all you need to replace is that top earpiece. That is literally the only thing you need to replace. But like I said, if you damage that, the Face ID will never work again. So make sure you take this out carefully, and I'll go through it with you. Right, so for that, there's only 3 screws. One there, one there, one there. This little screw does have a little metal plate that comes with it, so just watch out for that. So when taking out the screws, I'll put these in the same place, and I'll put that little bracket with the screw that it came with. Right. So all you need to do is gently just lift it up. And you'll feel it start lifting. It kind of lifts back down on itself. Right, like so. Then we'll go in with the Isissimo. We'll pretty much use the Isissimo for this whole entire thing. What you want to do is you want to go under that cable there. Just go straight under it. And we'll start first with the little bronze or copper looking part. Just slightly lift it up. Obviously not putting too much force and not lifting up too far. Same with the other side. You want to go and try and get underneath the cables. Obviously paying attention, just looking around, making sure you're actually getting underneath the cables. And just gently lift it up. Don't go too far in, don't lift it up too fast. Just little bit by little bit, wiggle around, get it out. Like I said, you need to be very careful with this. Obviously, if you damage it, Face ID will never work again, and you can't replace them either. There we go. And then same with this part here. Just gently get to a bit where you can actually catch it, pull it up, and that will be the whole earpiece out. And that is literally the only thing you need to replace. That screen can go to one side now. And we'll get the new screen. Right, so as per normal with new screens, you have this back tab. Just want to peel that off. So that's the back peeled off. And then we'll put the earpiece back on. Right, so the easiest way to do this is you'll have the top bit, little slit in there, and you've got this little bit with a white bit on it. You just want to put that straight in the gap. Once that's in, literally everything else will line up. Just wiggle around, and then you should feel them all slot in. There we go. Those are all in place. And then you can put this back down. Like I said, with everything being gentle, trying to put too much force on anything. Right, so we just need to screw those back into place. Just with the 3 screws at the top. The second and middle screw obviously has that little bracket as well. You want to put the bracket in there. The bracket only goes, or can go multiple ways, but you want to make sure that you won't be able to see this on camera, but there's a long bit that pokes out and then a short bit pokes out the other side. You want the long bit to be at the top and right at the top. It's not the easiest thing to explain when it's so small and you can't really see it on camera. But make sure it goes at the top, and you can't really see it, but it's at the top there, so it's kind of like next to this lug. It's pretty much the same thing, a smaller lug like that. Don't know if you'll be able to see that, but it needs to go up. And then we'll put in the last screw. There we go. So that is the screen rebuilt. Nice, quick, simple, easy job. Right, so now we need to take off all the old adhesive. so we can put the new adhesive back on. So same thing, I'd use some tweezers and I'll go around the side. Like I said, be careful, try not to push too much force where you're slipping, because if you hit anything on the actual phone itself, you could damage it, and you'll probably have bigger problems. So just keep going around. The adhesive on the X's don't tend to peel too much up when you're replacing the screen, but like with everything, we make it look as good as new, so we will replace it, because sometimes you might have a small little gap in there. And like I explained before, it's literally just to stop some water going into the device. With the X's, it is a lot thicker and better adhesive, but obviously still not 100% protecting the phone from water. There we go. So again, we'll now clean up the sides, as they tend to get a lot of mud and dust in it. So there we go. As per normal, we'll get some ISO just to clean it up, just so the new adhesive will then stick back on and not have just big clumps of dirt in it. There we go. Nice and clean again. Right. So we'll then apply the new adhesive. Like I said, only peels off one way. You'll have an outline of the phone. With the X's, it pretty much lays a out of how it should go. So you've got the two holes at the top for the two front cameras. So it's an easy indication of which way it will go. Put in one corner first, line up the rest. And then we'll just use some tweezers, push it down so it actually takes to the frame and doesn't end up peeling up when you actually peel off the cover for the adhesive. Alright, so peel off. Sometimes they do come in 2 layers. And then we'll just get the tab for that and peel that back. If you feel that any of the adhesive is pulling up when you're peeling off the tabs, just get your tweezers, run over it again, push it back down. There we go. Adhesive all back on the phone. So now we need to put the new screen down. Obviously, as per normal, make sure that it's nice and clean. We want to make sure every phone that we send back to customers is nice and clean. Obviously, they're not going to be looking in the device, but it is just a nice state to get into where you're just constantly cleaning everything, making sure everything's looking nice. So plugging it back down, I generally put the front earpiece back in. The cable kind of bends, it'll sit next to the battery and clip in. Obviously make sure that the whole entire thing goes in between the battery and the board. You don't want some of it in, some of it out, because it will end up bending the cable and could get into a position where it could crimp the cable, which means it'll damage the cable, and you don't want that, because obviously, like I said, you won't be able to use your Face ID if that happens. So once that's in place, you want to put down your other two connectors. Just pop them down. Like I said, with the connectors, put them down, just get them in place, run them over with your hands, move them around. You'll feel where they just kind of catch. Where they catch, that's generally where they need to go in. And you'll feel that click, and sometimes hear it as well. Okay, so then the battery will put the battery back into place. Right. Everything plugged back in. You want to then put down the bracket. Only goes in one way. Make sure the screw holes are lined up. And we'll screw it back into place. As per normal, screws are all back into place, so they'll go in the same way I took them out. So as per normal, need 100 hands to get all the screws lined up, put into place. Right, so once that's all in place, we're going to put it all back down. So make sure it looks all fine. You can obviously go over it with the cloth again, making sure it's all nice and clean. There we go. So, best way to do it is fold it back. Top, we'll just push down. Unlike the 7s which need to clip in, these just push straight down. Don't push down too hard. Again, turn it upside down. You've got those cables there that need to kind of be pushed a little bit down just so they sit into place and don't get caught in between the screen and the frame. There we go. So that's all nice. Make sure the front camera is all lined up. That's all good. So we'll put into the bottom 2 screws again. Those long screws. Right. And then turn the device on. And that is a new screen. Right, so I'll get it to a point where I can show you it and show it all working. Okay, so there's nothing too bad on this, so that's the new screen. It's all working. Asking for a passcode. That's the new screen. Touch is all working. All good. Obviously you can peel the front. So that is how you replace an iPhone X screen. like I said, it's a lot quicker than an iPhone 7 to replace. It's probably one of the easiest and quickest repairs. Obviously there is a lot of risk involved in damaging that front earpiece, because if you do, the Face ID will never work again. But it's a nice simple repair, just doesn't take a long time, but there can be a lot of risk involved. So yeah, that is the X screen. Thank you for watching. It's Damien at Spark Angels. Obviously, like as always, if you leave comments or private message us with any devices you want repairing or any questions you got on this video or anything else in general, please let us know. Thank you very much.